to that, for those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop your comments down below, share it if you can. For those listening on Spotify, Apple, or any other podcasting platform, please follow. Give us a 5-star review. All of that stuff helps with the algorithms and helps grow the podcast. We'll start with the United game. 2-1 away at the Etihad. Oh man, what a game. Unbelievable. It wasn't the greatest game of quality when you look at it from a quality perspective. City are obviously in the absolute dunya right now and not looking good at all. We have not been playing very well recently, coming off a big win for our Europa hopes at Victoria Pilsen. But it was touch and go, right? We were 1-0 down for a portion of that game. So we weren't coming off the best run of form, a couple of L's before that. And obviously before the game, the big news that Amorim decided to leave Rashford and Garnacho out of the squad completely. I mean, it was an absolute madness from a United fan's perspective, because I think, what's his name? Samuel Luckhurst leaked the whole team, the entire team, the night before, which is absolutely mad. Normally with leaks, you get a few players here and there. And if you do get a full team leak, it might be like an hour or two before the teams are announced, not a full 24 hours before. So that was dodgy. That was a sign for something bad to come. And then, it made a bit of sense when you found out Rashford and Garnacho were out the squad. You can put 2 and 2 together. Someone disgruntled in one of their teams most likely has leaked that, haven't they? Let's be real. That's quite obviously what's happened. But the game itself, the first half wasn't fantastic. We had more of the ball, quite a lot more of the ball, actually. It was quite refreshing to see us dominate possession at City. No one really does that, right, normally, especially not us. But City managed to take the lead. Bit lucky, in my opinion, deflected cross from De Bruyne. Gvardiol with a decent header. My Onana agenda is going to run, because I think he should die if he just stands and watches it and it goes in relatively centre in the goal without that much speed. So I'm looking at him a bit. I'm also looking at Rasmus and Diogo Dalot. Got beaten in the air. I mean, I'm going to give him a slight pass because it was deflected. Maybe they lost the track of the ball, but still they got to do better, right? I know Gvardiol's a bit of a beast in the air, but they should be doing better than that, in my opinion. Second half comes along, and we've still got loads of the ball, although it's probably a bit more even, but we're getting all the chances. So, in my opinion, we can briefly talk about it later, but I thought that was a penalty on Rasmus. I don't know why all the ref watches and all these bloody idiots on telly, both Mike Dean at the time and Dermot Gallagher on that Sky show, both talking absolute rubbish. He clearly does not touch the ball and swings his whole leg across Rasmus. Maybe Rasmus dives a bit theatrically after the contact.
He just does it late. He does it a little
shouldn't
late,
matter,
doesn't he? Yeah, but no, it definitely shouldn't. I've seen penalties with far less contact get given.
Well, they screwed us last year when I think it was Rasmus on Rodri.
Yeah.
And they gave a pen at Old Trafford for a ridiculous
or a free
challenge.
Kick or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a long free kick that they pumped in and then they gave it for that. And yet this one they didn't give it. So of course, we're doing the Abu Dhabi watch for the refs when it comes to their decision making. So that stinks. Bruno then missed a 1-on-1, should really score. Great bit of play from Rasmus, by the way, and Mazraoui. Mazraoui nicks it off Doku and then skips past a couple of players. Rasmus was with a nice through ball, and Bruno should really tuck it away. But to be honest, he didn't have a great game. Bruno was quite poor, I thought. First half, he was disciplined. He didn't do much wrong, but he also didn't create anything. And then the second half, he did the opposite. He tried to create more and was fluffing pretty much everything. But typical, we get a pen. Mateus Nunes absolutely stinks it up. There's something cursed with that name. You've said it before. I can't remember a good Nunes. There's a lot of them that are absolute.
They all stink.
And the thing about him, he's actually, other games I've seen of City, he's done all right attacking wise. They played him left wing and he's looked okay. But left back, and he was at right back for this. I don't know what he's doing. And he plays a terrible back pass. Ahmad, who was probably our best player by a country mile, nicks in, grabs it. And I think Thierry Henry and Carragher did some analysis on it. He did a smart little thing. He looked up and watched and saw what was going on, realised Edison's on him, and then kind of stuck his body in between the ball, and Nunes just comes running in like an absolute donut and completely takes him out. Stupidest challenge I've ever seen in my life. He's obviously had a rush of blood to the head and gone, I need to fix this, but it's like a child. Like, I do think Bernardo's a big old rat, right? Like, a lot of opposition fans hate him for valid reason. I think we're all unified, right? Liverpool, Arsenal, and United all hate him, right? But he he comes in and calls it under 15 football. And to be honest, that challenge was under 15. It's like a kid, like, you know, trying to fix it, and he cocks it up. Penalty, Bruno tucks it away, and then I think the poetic bit was 115 seconds later. You know, Lissandro plays the ball over the top, which I thought was like a bit of a looper, and there wasn't a lot of pace. I was kind of mad at him, being like, "What are you doing?" But then it kind of almost hits the ground and gets a bit of pace on it.
Spins,
and Ahmad does this weird little thing, which again, Thierry and Jamie Carragher were analysing on Monday Night Football, where he
looks at the floor.
Yeah, he dinks it, but yeah, he like looks where the ball's coming, and then he stops looking at the ball and looks where the ball lands, flicks it with his toe, and he doesn't get the greatest contact, but is like, you know, on the volley, which I actually think helps him, because I think if he got a good contact, Gvardiol's going to clear that. But somehow it manages to pass Edison, go through Gvardiol's legs, and we win it 2-1. Absolute scenes. I'm losing my mind on the sofa. But I think all in all, a draw was maybe, you know, City fans could say a draw was a fair result. But I think on the balance of play, you know, it was a poor game all round. But I do think if you look at the big chances, I think we should win that game. We had all the big chances, apart from the Gvardiol header. I can't remember anything. I think they maybe
also
had a
should
few
have been
shots
given
blocked.
a penalty.
We should have had a penalty.
You should have had a penalty.
Score, plus we scored 2. So, yeah, we should have won. I know it's not a lot these days. Going to City is literally for everyone at this moment, right? Everyone's pummeling them pretty much.
Charity FC out here.
Yeah. Forest are the only team that are looking at this being like, how crap are we? How have we not managed to win that game? Like, even Feyenoord managed to pull out a draw there. So that's like City's only saving grace. So we win 2-1. In my humble opinion, I think we did deserve the win because of that chances. But, I mean, also the really, really encouraging thing for me, and I'm not going big yet because I think we're still ropey, which is quite obvious. But at least in possession of the ball, I can see a definite improvement from the first few games that Ruben had, where we couldn't keep the ball for our life, to now being able to keep the ball. And a lot of people have made the point it's sideways, backwards for the most part. At least it was until like 65 minutes in that City game, which I get. But we haven't been able to even do that like in recent years, right? So the fact we're able to keep the ball better, if Bruno can just get his head back in the game and perform how he had been in a couple of the recent games where he's been much more disciplined, I think our possession based style can potentially grow, and we can improve even further. But I think there is the challenge is always going to be this balance, because we did start to lose the ball a bit more when we did start playing the ball forward a bit more. So there will be that balance of being able to attack effectively without conceding the ball, turning over the ball constantly, which I think we've either been one or the other. I go back to Louis van Gaal days. We were like this. Sideward, backwards, really good on the ball, but there would be games where we'd 0-0 it at home to like bloody Cardiff or Swansea or whatever, because we had no attacking threat. And so we have to, and you know, Ten Hag style would be sometimes gung-ho basketball, back and forth. And you know, it can lead to mad results as well. So we've got to find the balance, but I think we deserved it, and I think you know, there's improvements there. But what do you think as an outsider looking in?
I'll go through it like one by one. I think, I mean, first of all, you definitely should have had a penalty. That was a clear penalty, in my opinion. On top of that, I think City were woeful for the most part of the game. They had, I mean, like, possession was roughly even throughout the match, but they didn't seem to do anything with it, whereas at least you guys were trying to move the ball forward in that last kind of spell. Obviously, that leads to you losing the ball more, but it's because you're trying to go from A to D in certain cases, right? Like one of the great things about City over the last few years is that they kind of go from A to B and then everyone moves up. Then they go from B to C and then everyone moves up. And that's how they end up just suffocating teams in that, like, that final third of theirs. And everyone ends up having to play like a really low block against them. And you've got to be basically defensively perfect to stop them from making little passes in here and in there and getting a goal somehow. With you guys, I think you're way better at just in general keeping the ball, whether you need to go back a little bit, to go side a little bit, to go forward a little bit. I think that all of that is great. But the problem is, as you kind of said, when you do progressively pass the ball, it tends to get a bit more risky. And when you do that, you don't seem to keep it in that area for a while. You end up immediately being pushed back, and then you kind of got to start again and go for another progressive pass and another one and another one. And I almost think it's partly because of, in my mind, that kind of central midfield role working with the wing backs hasn't fully figured itself out yet. It's definitely a lot better midfield wise than you have been before, because obviously you were Donut FC before that, but you still need to figure that out a little bit and maybe find your Rodri. It might end up being Ugarte for sure, because I mean, who knows? He looks pretty good. He looks much better at this point in time. But finding your Rodri that is, once you get that progressive pass, he's going to find a way to keep it up the field. He's going to, jockey someone. He's going to push it over there. He's going to do whatever. Like, your Busquets, your Rodri kind of player. I don't know who that is right now. It doesn't really seem like, in my mind, doesn't seem like it's Bruno. And it could be Ugarte, but I just think there's some improvement that needs to happen there. So I think overall, from your style of play, you're a lot better with the ball. You keep it a lot longer, but yeah, when you want to get an attacking threat, you kind of have to lump it up there, or you end up trying to push up high and getting a win back early and then using that to score, which I think is totally fine. Like at the moment at Arsenal, I'd take that in a heartbeat, because all we're scoring is bloody corner FCs in the Premier League. So it's much better. But overall, I think, yeah, you deserve to win the game. You were better than them. And it's mainly just because they're so bloody woeful. They were honestly so bad. Their goal was horrible. The way that they played that entire game was horrible. Haaland he's big for no reason. He's big for no reason at this point, because what's the point of being that big and then getting locked down by people the same size as you? Because let's be honest, him and outside of the sizes of their heads, they're about the same size in terms of body and strength, right? But yeah, he may as well have been 4'2", because Maguire just had him on the floor half the game. Yeah, he gobbled him. So pause. But yeah, so I think you were overall much better. I definitely am seeing improvement. But as I said, I think number one, you need to be able to use your progressive passing defenders better, because Lisandro is a good progressive passer, right? It's one of the things that he makes up for in height, is the fact that he's really good playing the ball across the floor. And as you saw for that second goal, he can play these weird like top spin floaty things that confuse Edison and confuse everyone. You've got Maguire, who thinks he's bloody Rio Ferdinand a lot of the time and actually can put in a good old diagonal every now and then. He does decent
diags, yeah.
Yeah, but he's always looking for it. This is what annoys me, right? Like, as soon as he gets the ball, he always gets it out of his feet, and he's already looking for it every single time. And I'm just like, mate, play the ball left and right? You don't need to always look for the bloody diags, right? But yeah, you need to be able to take that. I don't know about De Ligt. I haven't really seen him enough to understand whether he's a proper passer of the ball, but no, but I mean, like in terms of progressive passing or whatever else, like I don't know if he can do that, but you don't need all three of those defenders to be able to do that. So if you've got Lisandro and Maguire that can do that, you need to take advantage of it. And you need to find players that can hold possession better. And one of the great things that I really liked about the end of that game, and it's a good example of what I'm talking about, is Xerxes. At the very end,
legend.
That's where Timberland boots and being shaped like Tom Huddleston actually helps, because they played him the ball at the end, and he just dashed one man off of him, dashed another man off of him, and he looked like Mark Henry out there. He was dashing people around like he was mental.
Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so I mean, like if you can find out a way to make him like your Joe Linton or something, and just have him hold the ball up in the middle, that could work, because he doesn't seem to be. I mean, it looks like Højlund's probably nailed on for that striker role. Xerxes might not get in the 10s, because it looks like even Mount might get ahead of him if he's fit. You've obviously got Ahmad, you've got Garnacho, who looks like he'll probably get back in the team at some point. Rashford, who knows? But you know what I mean? Like maybe I'm just misprofiling him because he's a big lad, but Xerxes, mate, think about that centre mid role. Sit next to Cobby, sit next to Bruno.
You need lungs, though. I agree with your analysis, really, though. I think that the centre back stuff. I mean, the whole team's still working itself out, right? Minus Onana-ish, although I still think he needs to work himself out as well.
He'll be good
in terms of just playing the ball. I mean, more than anything, like he needs to concentrate on. He needs to concentrate on.
He dawdles a bit.
How to save. Yeah. he holds the ball too long. But the thing is, that makes sense because in last couple of managers wanted him to do that. Ten Hag definitely wanted him to do that. When he was at Inter, that was their style. He'd mentioned it loads of time that Simeone asked him to hold on it, get the people to press and play it over the top. And he did it amazingly for Inter, right? Not so much for us. So I don't know if Ruben wants us to do the same thing. But anyway, yeah, the defence, I like Lissandro at that left-sided spot. He looks way more secure and he's able to play the passes that he's really one of his biggest, pluses as a player. Maguire at centre back works quite well, but I think there's going to be games where you're going to need someone with a bit more pace there, and so I think him and De Ligt will kind of rotate in that position. To be honest, because I think when you do have a pacier attack that you've got to try and fend off, that I think De Ligt going to centre back will make sense because he can do the diags as well. I think that position is looking for that ball over the diagonally either side. Quite regularly. I think those players can do it. I think De Ligt at right centre back works because he's decent on the ball, and I think he can play those progressive passes forward. Obviously, it's part of Ajax's style, and he used to do that when he was there. You've also got Euro coming in who can do that, and even as a third stretch, Lindelof is actually really good at those balls, like those progressive balls over the top around the side. He used to do that a lot in previous seasons when we played with the two, and really it was his best feature, right? Because his defending, he would be a bit timid sometimes, but playing the ball, he's good. So he could come in and slot there. And then, Evans or whatever can rotate. The wing-back stuff's tricky. I think they played well on the day. I think Mazraoui was good. I think he gassed at the end, and then obviously now he's injured. But
I think I messaged you early and I thought Doku, because they were trying to get Doku one-on-one, and they did actually succeed on getting them one-on-one, but he didn't do anything with it. Because I remember I messaged you, I was like, Mazraoui's going to have a long day with Doku because it looks like they're trying to get him one-on-one over and over again. And Doku's obviously usually a one-on-one demon. Like he's physical, he's quick, he's got this like bloody manic thing about him that he like just seems to sell people left and right. But Mazraoui did a really good job. I can only really think of like one time where actually Doku got past him, and that was, it ended up going to like a corner or whatever it was. But
no, he did
outside of that, I think Mazraoui did a great job because Doku's not, as much as everyone wants to mock him and say, oh, Doku and Savio are crap. He's hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 50-50 though. I think Doku effed it basically. Like he was flirting without actually pulling the trigger, and he looked a bit gun shy. But I also think that maybe was because Mazraoui played him really well at the start and kind of killed his confidence off. I think they both played a part. I don't think it was Mazraoui's best ever game. Actually, I think he's been way better in recent weeks, but he was still very good. And his average is the 7 out of 10s that you want. So I'm happy with him. He was really good. He played a part in that Bruno chance. He was very dogged, man. I like him a lot, and I hope he's not out for long. Midfield, I hear what you're saying. I don't think the way we play, we're gonna even set up where we require I know you're talking about them as just an influence maybe, but there's no way Ugarte can pull off being a Rodri, like as in a one man like defensive mop up type player. That's gonna have to be a 2-man job. I think the way Amram set up is he's going for it to be split. So you'll have one person who's more of a passer, but the key is they're both gonna have to have legs to cover the pitch because they're going to be under stress and going up and down. Ugarte, I think, has got the legs. It looks like he's kind of got used to the pace and he's got the tackling and blocking ability, and he's decent on the ball. He's not amazing, but he's decent. And then the next position is the conundrum because Bruno's got the energy to run around, but he also gets carried away and wants to do more too creative things for a deep lying player, right? And he needs to be safer. So either he needs to learn how to do that and chill all the way down, right? And then I think he'd be a good partner for him. Or we need to go out and get someone because I love Kobe, but I think Kobe has to play as a 10. I think that's got to be his role in this system because carrying the ball, driving with it, close control. There was that one moment in City's box where he was like jinking past 3 or 4 guys. There's no one else in our team that can do that. And as an attacking midfielder, I actually think Kobe is I know there's people out there probably in the content creating space who've said this as well, so I'm not reinventing the wheel, but I think he's got to be a 10 because I think if you put him in midfield, he's naturally going to get overrun. If you put him against a Gravenberch or a Caicedo or someone who's got legs, they're going to overrun him because he hasn't got the physical ability to go up and down with them constantly. If you get him in an attacking half space, he can fold them. I'm sure of it. Like, okay, Chelsea and Liverpool fans might argue with me on their performances this season so far. Those two players got the better of him, but I think he needs to play as a 10. So there's gaps, man. And then, like you said, there's lots of people that we may be shoveling into the 10, but I honestly don't believe a lot of them will be. I think a lot of them will either be sold or will be, pushed out more to the wide. I'm thinking Garnacho's probably got more opportunity as the left winger / wing back than he has as a 10 now. I think they've tried it and it's not worked. And Xerxes up top, man, I love that. Like I've been onto Xerxes, probably unfairly, very early days, but he looked like the strength he's got. I think we all know that the like control and technique, we've kind of seen that he's good. The thing we've questioned is, can he be a finisher, which I think the jury's still very much out. And the other thing was, he looked slow as hell. He looked like he was literally running in porridge the whole time he's played so far. That game, not only did he like body Kyle Walker and a couple of people with his physicality, he drove the ball with pace. And those guys around him are Walker, and I know that people say Walker's lost his legs, but even a lost leg, Walker is fast. Yeah. So the fact he could do that was like, oh wow, maybe he's just needed some time to get up to speed and get his fitness, because there were reports out that he was a bit chunky when he joined. So
he needs to stop wearing baggy shorts, mate. He needs to stop wearing baggy clothes. They're weighing him down.
I do think he was just some
aerodynamic. Yeah, no, he definitely could have been, and I mean we've seen that with plenty of other players coming to the league realizing, oh, I'm a bit of a fatty in this league because these men are running all over the place 24/7. In Italy, I could sit back and eat my donuts.
Probably
and
in
my
the
pizza.
holidays, though.
Yeah, of course.
I think the Italians are on the fitness thing. I think he probably went to the Euros. He was enjoying. He was, he was doing life with his girl on a boat and all this kind of stuff like that. We saw pictures of it, right, of him enjoying himself, and he didn't come back in the best condition. But the jury's still out. Don't get me wrong. I love the housery he was doing at the end with the City fans. That's going to make me love him more from a passionista bit. But if he wants to stay in that striking position, which I do think now, considering what I just said about the other people that are better set as 10s, he needs to get some pace. If he can get some pace, and he can, he scored some goals against Everton, for example, which will be a segue in a minute for the Arsenal bit, but he needs to finish and he needs to keep showing that, because that was useful. That reminded me a lot of Rasmus in the FA Cup final when he came on late. And Doku S-housed that consolation goal, and we needed to get the ball up, and he just bounced a man off him and then carried the ball for like 30 yards, and it was critical for us at that point to get the win. So I'm happy with him, man. Big him up. I'm gonna ease up on him, and let's just see how he goes now going forward. But yeah, man, I thought we deserved it. Let's quickly go on the Rashford thing before we wrap it up, Johns, because we've got to move on to Arsenal. Obviously, everything's been talking about Rashford. They've kind of forgotten that Garnacho was part of that situation as well. Everyone's been talking about Rashford. Amorim drops them both. He says it's not disciplinary, but then he drops some coded stuff about, I watch the way you eat, I watch the way you dress, I watch the way you engage with your teammates and the people around you. Lots of rumours saying he was out on the lash a couple nights before, being carried out of clubs. Then rumours about him and Garnacho scuffing the following day in training or whatever. What do you make of that decision first before we go into the interview part? Do you think it's being a storm in a teacup that we're even talking about that decision to leave him out, or do you think it's ballsy from Amorim to do that?
I do think it's a storm in the teacup because obviously it's Man United, but at the same time, I think it's a great thing for him to do. I think he needs to show that no one is undroppable, particularly the two star boys of your team, both past and present, who have both ballooned their egos to the high heavens. And it's been amazing with Garnacho to see his head explode. Like I saw, he just won the Puskas Award. Man's out here thinking, like talking and acting like he's Messi. Like you settle down.
Ronaldo, yeah.
Yeah, like you hit an overhead kick, but you couldn't hit a barnyard with a banjo on a normal evening in wherever it is in the Premier League. So settle yourself down, learn how to pass properly, learn how to finish. Stop telling your brother everything, and stop being such a moody bastard. You're young. You haven't really done anything yet. You've done less than Rashford. Like Rashford has more reason to have an ego than you do. You need to settle yourself down, right? So I think that's excellent from Amrim's point of view, because he's looking at Garnacho and saying, mate, you're not going to get to that level. You're not getting to the Rashford levels, right? We're going to stop that right here. Go and sit at home for a bit because you're not playing. And then for Rashford, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around like X about how he's the leak. You know, some people are saying it's Garnacho. There's all different kinds of people. Everyone wants to say, like, stay so hush hush about it. They don't want to say the name like it's bloody Voldemort out here. But yeah, there's so much stuff going around about him. It might be him. It might be somebody else. I feel like with Rashford, at a certain point, he has to have leaked something to someone. I just don't see a world in which he is not part of the leak. I'm not saying he's the only one, but there's got to be a world where he is part of some of the leaks that have come out. Because you've seen now with this interview that he did with Henry Winter, that my man's got connections in the media space, because it was immediate that he's come out and done this after that drop-in, right? And he's done it before about the, feeding the kids. He's done it before about various different things with Ten Hag and whatever else. He's very clearly got like a team around him that carefully shape his image or mold his image, or try to at least. So from my point of view, there's absolutely no way that they're not involved. Even if it's not him himself, maybe it's his manager, which is his brother, I think, as well, or somebody else in his team. Maybe it's one of them that's doing it, but he's definitely complicit. He's got to be complicit at some point, and I've got to believe that some leaks are coming out from him. So Amrim was very kind of diplomatic about his statement about it, saying, like, it's never over, right? Like, this is the biggest challenge you can have. You don't need a new challenge. This is the challenge, which I think is a great way to handle it, even if in his mind he has very little hopes that Marcus will turn it around. But yeah, I think that response just makes Marcus Rashford look like more of a muppet now, because Ruben like kind of come out and said like, no, you're still welcome here, mate, as long as you buck up and do the right things that you need to do. So it kind of now makes it look like it's not Man United trying to get him out. It kind of makes it more look like Rashford wants to leave. You see what I mean? Which moves the onus away from Man United as being, oh, you get rid of your star boy, he's been here for 18 years or whatever, to, oh, you want to leave us, we're your boyhood club kind of thing. So it's genius in terms of, from my point of view, from Amarim's side. And it's, in my opinion, quite stupid from Rashford's point of view. I think if he just does want to leave, then fine. Then this is a way to go about it. I still don't think it's the best way to go about it. But if he's trying to do it so that like he can get everyone to come out and say, no, stay, Rashford, stay, I think it's a stupid thing, because now like Amarim kind of has done that. He's kind of said, no, like you've still got a place here in a certain way. And now it makes him look like he's a bit of a prat and he wants to leave. So masterstroke from Amarim, stinky from Rashford again. He doesn't just stink it up on the field, apparently.
Yeah, the thing about this situation, so I'll just bund it all up. It's so political. Less so with Garnacho. He's a youngster. He's just suddenly got a massive ego and he's become really big-headed. Don't get me wrong. He's had great moments, but they're a sprinkle in the history of the club. No one will remember him if he stopped playing for United right now. Let's be honest, right?
It'll be Makeda.
Yeah.
Makeda or Januzaj 2.0.
Probably not even. Like, Makeda actually helped us win the league with that little bit. He would be Januzaj-ish, right? Where people talk about he had some moments and then nothing really came from it. So he needs to understand that. He needs to get himself in check. But at the same time, I'm going to chill on him, because as much as I'm worried about the ego stuff and whatever, and his performances on the pitch, which for me are always the most important thing, have been rubbish for a minute. Even if they've been covered up by some goals and assists, he's still not played well. He's a youngster, right? This is the moment to course correct someone and stop them from becoming that player forever. So, and I'm sure there've been some world-class players that have played for United and other clubs that had dodgy moments when they were, 20 or younger, whatever, and they had to be pulled in line to help them achieve that greatness or that quality. So I'm not going to go in on him, but he definitely needs to look at himself in the mirror. He probably, needs to tell his little brother to shut the F up a little bit. And he needs to surround himself in the club and outside the club with better people that are being honest with him and not calling them the next Ronaldo. He's not the next Ronaldo. There is no world where Garnacho becomes Ronaldo. I'm sorry. right? There's no world. I like him. I think he's got potential. I think he could be a good winger for us. But I almost look at him and think his cap is Nani. And that shouldn't be a diss to him, because Nani, I like Nani, and Nani was good for us. I think people, rib him a little bit because of some of his antics and, sometimes when he made stupid decisions and bozo decisions. But ultimately, he was part of winning teams for us. So I don't think that's a cuss at all. But he's not going to be Ronaldo. So we need to dead that, and he needs to work on his game and improve and, humble himself. Stay humble, eh? But with Rashford, I think it's just so political, man, because of what he's done, which has been amazing stuff for kids and for society. Anything that he does now, when it comes to a football context, will always be dragged back into a political, out of football context. So if you say Rashford should go for the betterment of himself and the club, a lot of fans will go, oh, racismo and whatever, and act like, there's other things involved in the reason why someone might have that opinion. It's the God's honest truth that with Rashford, I think he actually wants to leave. And I know you've said there's tactics around this going on, because United were also, complicit in this as well. They put out the rumours that they want to try and sell him, or they'll take offers, which obviously are true to their journalists. Then Rashford has come out and put out this interview with his favourite guy, Henry Winter, who loves him off. And now it feels like he's reclaimed the narrative. But like you said, he's never going to be able to fully reclaim it, because Amorim gets a press conference every 5 minutes, it seems like. And he's always going to have the chance
with them well
to pull it back. And he's not Ten Hag. He's not someone else who's going to chat absolute was when he's in the press conference. He seems like he knows exactly what he's going to say, and he's prepared it, and he knows it. He seems so emotionally intelligent that he knows what to say, what slant to say, how to say it, to protect the club, protect himself, and not causing, an S-storm for the club. So I agree with you. He's just flipped it back on Rashford and said, look, that new challenge can be here if you sort yourself out. And the onus is on him. And ultimately, the onus is on him. If he plays well on the pitch, works hard, and does what he was doing in his younger years, there will not be one United fan that wants him gone. You can add the racismo and the whatever else in there and say that there might be people that will still have those views in terms of being prejudiced or whatever, for sure. But he's a local lad, and when he was banging in goals for us as a teenager, they had their shirts off in the crowd, limbs and everything, right? So if he plays well, football can unite people to maybe not fix all these problems that they have in society, but at least cover them up during the football pitch, the time on the pitch, and enjoy them and support the players on their pitch. So ultimately, he needs to play better. He needs to want it. And if he doesn't play better and he doesn't want it, he's got to go. Like, for himself and for the club. It's got no ulterior motive. I want nothing more than to see Rashford succeed, the same way I wanted that for Tony Marshall, the same way I wanted that for Paul Pogba. But the God's honest truth is I feel like those two players didn't contribute as much to their abuse and the crap that they had to put up with than Marcus has. Marcus has genuinely done things which I think in every generation and era you would get criticism for. It's not a new football thing, and social media doesn't play a part. If Roy Keane and those guys had heard about one of their players doing some of the antics that he was doing, or Sir Alex had heard of it, you're getting the hairdryer. You may be getting sold, right? Like Beckham did, in the same way, in a more acrimonious way. So let's be real here. This situation, I feel like, is at its end. He's got to leave. And the way Amorim's taken control of the situation, he's not going to win this battle. Right? It's going to go like Ronaldo versus Ten Hag. He's going to lose that battle. And unlike Ten Hag, Amorim's going to come out looking beautiful. The club's going to come out looking better. And Rashford is potentially only going to be the one who looks stinky if he continues with this PR Rashford stuff that he's doing, right?
But this is why it's important, though, that Amorim continues to be a personable, good man manager. And this is what Ten Hag's downfall, is that if you're going to do this and you're going to not alienate, but you're going to get rid of certain fan favourites and certain ones that are really difficult to deal with, like Rashford, they have the possibility that they might try and get the other players on their side, and then you lose the dressing room, and then they stop playing for you, and then it's all over, right? Which is, I think, in the end, what happened to Ten Hag, right, over time. With Amorim, he needs to keep being personable. Him and his coaching staff need to keep getting all the other players on their side, so that when Rashford does eventually throw his toys out the pram and say, you know what, no, I'm going to try and I'm not saying he's going to negatively influence, but you know what, he's a big man in the dressing room, right? Like, and he's English, and he's been around a lot of these dons in the England team, whatever else. We've seen this happen before with Chelsea and whoever else, right? So when it does come time for that stuff to happen, we've got to have like Maguire and Luke Shaw and whoever else saying, you know what, actually, I'm sided with a manager here because he looks like he knows what he's doing. I like him. He treats me well. We're all like a good team spirit here. So I'm sorry, mate. I'm not going to be on your side for this. That's what he needs to keep doing on Amorim's side. And I think he's doing a great job of it so far. But it's also the reason why I kept on hammering the fact that that's what he needs to be in order to succeed at Man United, particularly in this transition period between having diva players and having like the squad team environment that he wants in the future, right? Same thing for Arteta. We had to get rid of the major personalities that thought they were too big for the club, or you know they were too powerful almost to try to cause trouble for us. You have to get rid of them quickly and you have to transition them, but at the same time you have to be really nice. You have to like make all the other players understand that you are in the right, and that you know you're not just some ruthless don that's trying to get rid of everyone, right? Like you're here for everyone. So he's doing an amazing job of it so far, and he's going to have to keep doing it because that's going to be the key here to that transition. I think maybe 2 seasons it will take for you to get to sack off basically all of the crap diva-ish players that you've got.
Yeah, no, I agree completely, man. Let's see how it goes. I'm sure we'll talk about it again on the pod because it's not over yet, right? The way things are set up, selling Rashford is going to be its own its own saga as well. If that is the decision to be.